What's up, guys? It's another episode of DCU TV here. In this one, we're going to break down some of the successes and some of the not so good times of DC United's season this past year. They had a lot of good moments in key games towards the end of the season, particularly against Atlanta United, where they had a big 3-1 win. And on the other side, they lost to Columbus in the playoffs at home, which a lot of things went wrong for them. And in this video, we're going to break down exactly what they did right and what they did wrong. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's get into it. So in the Atlanta United game, DC United was able to score goals against the run of play and break quickly on the counterattack. That's one of the things that they were able to do really well this season, and something that I hope to see more of next year. So we're going to look at just how they did it, how they were able to get in behind the Atlanta defense and get some goals on Brad Guzan. So here we are in the 50th minute of this game against Atlanta. At the time, the score was 1-1, and DC United had the ball coming out of defense with Russell Knaus here. He has the ball. He just gets caught from a defender chasing him from behind. The ball finds itself to Lucho Acosta here, and Lucho just dribbles up, turns, sees Wayne Rooney, who's standing here with his back towards a goal on a defender, and he just plays a little pass over to him where Rooney can control it for a touch, and sees Arriola cutting in with his pace around all of these Atlanta defenders who end up having to chase him backwards to try and catch up with him because he's just so much faster than them. And this central defender, I believe it was Jeff Lorenowitz, he could have caught and followed Arriola on this route over here, but when the ball comes to Rooney here, he has to pull up, and then so by the time that Rooney gets the ball, takes a touch and lays it off to Arriola, Lorenowitz had already stepped up and now has to track back this way to try and catch up with Arriola as these defenders are coming in behind him. So Arriola then is up here, he has the ball, and he's cutting into the box. Atlanta's defenders are too late. They come in behind and end up fouling Arriola in the box right here for a penalty. And this was just a play that DC United had kind of made of nothing, where Russell Knaus had the ball back here and kind of got caught up by this Atlanta defender, but was able to find Lucho, who knows where Rooney is in their connection that they have here up front. And when the two of them are able to combine and you have wingers cutting in behind them, it draws defenders from Atlanta to want to come in towards the ball, whoever has the ball, and it opens up these spaces wide for wingers like Arriola or Yamil Assad, Stieber, whoever it might have been, to cut in onto the box. And then when you pull the defenders in, you play the ball centrally with two really skilled players who are going to track defenders, and then they're able to kick it back out wide. That's where you get Arriola in here with defenders trying to catch up to him, and they just foul him from behind on a penalty that Wayne Rooney was able to convert past Brad Guzan for DC United's 2-1 goal. Now here we are in the 77th minute of the game. DC United's winning 2-1 at this point, and they're about to score again. The ball is at the back here, where Russell Knaus is simply clearing the ball forward up to Wayne Rooney right here. And Rooney just takes a one-time flick, lays it off to Acosta, who sees that the defender, as soon as the ball gets played to Rooney, the defenders are going to close in and keep an eye on him. So Acosta is able to exploit this, and he just makes a run going behind the defense that Rooney's able to find and just do a one-time flick on to Acosta, and all the defenders are just too late because this was at a point where Atlanta was losing. They put a lot of numbers forward, and DC United was really able to capitalize on the counterattack by just making quick runs in behind the defense like this. And in this case, the ball gets played from Rooney over to Acosta, who just drives in, and he cuts into the box. Atlanta's defenders are able to catch up with him by the time that he has the ball and cuts back inside. But because he has the momentum, he cuts in and then just plays one right back to the near post past Brad Guzan for DC United's third goal in this one. This was just one of those plays that came really against the run of play, where Atlanta just had the ball, they're pushing, they're trying to get a goal, and DC United is able to keep the connection between Acosta here and Rooney really strong. They know where each other are going to run off of the other one. So whichever one receives the ball can play the ball quickly to the other, who's going to cut in past the defenders who are getting pulled up to whichever player grabs the ball. So this was just an example of another goal where DC United was really able to just kind of exploit the defensive positioning, and Rooney and Acosta's connection, they could just really take advantage of that. In DC United's loss to Columbus, Wayne Rooney and Lucho Acosta got very disconnected because of Columbus's game plan, which worked out really well in their favor because Lucho had to go wide to pick up the ball and try to cut in, and he wasn't able to make that connection with Wayne that we had seen them when DC United had been so successful in many other games recently. On the defensive side, DC United's central defense got unorganized around the box and in front of Bill Hamid, which led to Columbus getting their 2 chances where they scored, and that's something that we're going to look at, break down just what they did wrong, and point out pain points where we want to look and see DC United improve in 2019. So here we are in the 30th minute of DC United's playoff game against Columbus Crew. At the time, DC United is winning 1-0, but they're about to give up a goal here. As you can see, DC United has their defenders back, but as was a theme of this game, DC United's midfielders rather here, were slow to track back into the box after DC United was attacking. So we have Justin Merrim wide left here with the ball, and he's cutting down the sideline, and he manages to beat Paul Arriola, who's playing right back in this game. This is Paul Arriola here. And so Paul Arriola is chasing the ball as Merrim gets it, and Merrim's able to get down to the goal line here and just play the ball back across, and this ball traveling into the middle of the box was a real problem for DC United as Briant in the front here as he saw that Arriola got beat, he came back too deep into the box where the cross here was able to get behind him, and Birnbaum here was following Zardes, who was cutting in right through the central here. However, because DC United's midfielders were a bit slower to get back and into the box, that meant that Higuain, who was cutting in, had this big open gap here where he was able to run into. This cross here just got tangled up in the box down here. Higuain, who was unmarked in the middle here, as Briant, Birnbaum, and Zardes are all just kind of kicking the ball around in the muck. Higuain, unmarked, comes in, finds his foot onto the ball, and just puts it past Bill Hamid, where Columbus ties the game here 1-1. And this was just an example where DC United's defense centrally was congested and a bit unorganized in that Briant came too far back to cut off the cross. And because Birnbaum is on the backside of Zardes here, you need Briant to at least disrupt this pass somehow. And then to make matters worse, in this case, DC United's midfielders were just slow to track back, which meant that, Mora, left back here, is following this Columbus runner, and then Higuain's in the middle with 2 DC United midfielders who were too slow to follow him into the box, and he was able to find his foot to the ball and get a goal for Columbus. So this is Columbus's goal in extra time. It was the 95th minute, I believe. At the time, the game is tied 1-1, and Columbus's Higuain has the ball centrally, and he just plays a quick pass out wide to the open wide man. And in this case, again, DC United's midfielders were just slow coming back to play defense, and that really hurt them in this case because Columbus was acting fast, got the ball wide, took like one touch, and then you have Zardes in between the central defenders cutting in, and then you've got 2 other attackers who had come in from wide positions, which means that De Leon at right back is going to follow this guy, and both of these central defenders are going to find themselves being occupied with the one central striker as this defender follows him. this guy would come out to try to block the cross, but he's a bit behind him. And after Higuain plays the pass out, he just follows the ball into the box, which means these central defenders are going to look for this central striker first. In this case, this was Birnbaum here, and he actually tracked back well into the box, but because he was following where Zardes was running, he pulled himself a bit too far back into the box as Higuain made his run in, which means that when this cross gets played in towards Higuain, Birnbaum was a bit behind it and had to run forward at it, whereas Higuain's already running in the direction of the goal and is just able to make, somewhat of a hopeful header, but ultimately a good one, where he just puts it on goal and gets it by Belhamid. And that was where Columbus went up 2-1 in this playoff game in extra time. DC United tied it, obviously, and then lost in penalties. But this was just an example, again, where the defense sort of broke down. These central defenders had to follow the central striker, and that means that anyone coming in from midfield is going to have to be marked by a midfielder. But in this case, DC United's midfielders were just a bit slow, which causes confusion on the back line as to where to position themselves or who to mark when you have two guys on one and then you see another runner coming in. So those are the things that I want to see DC United's defense work out, especially in the high-stress situations like this in the playoffs. It's frustrating to watch your team give up goals like this that seem pretty simple from a defensive point of view to defend, but at the same time, when players are out of position or just slow to get back on defense, it causes confusion and ultimately leads to goals that, end your seasons.
Alright, so there you guys have it. Thank you for watching to the end. And be sure to follow DCU TV on Instagram because we've got a holiday giveaway going on right now. And subscribe to stay tuned for more videos coming out over the off season. As you can tell, I moved to a new location here, so still working out some of the kinks of this new studio, but that doesn't mean I won't keep coming out with good content just for you guys. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.